Aloha. Shit. I didn't really want to make this video to be a focus, but I have to because it's better this way if I narrow it down instead of speaking in reference to the idea of the New Age as kind of this abstract movement, this abstract environment. When you see faces, when you see, when you hear vibrations, when you see people, when you hear their words, and when you walk through an environment with characters, it's easier to understand what's going on. Like the first part of this video was going to be a rant. It was just like the seed for this video was New Age rant. But I've done New Age rants before, and I'm done with that in a sense that I always want to evolve what I am understanding and how I understand how all these stories fit along with all the other stories. One way that I've understood the New Age as it exists is as a fall guy. Just as, like I said, it's an abstract sort of thing, like the war on terrorism or the war on terror. There is no terror that you can go like put in jail or something like that, or there is no like, it's this abstract thing that's just designed to be intangible. Just like the conspiracy theory concept is an intangible sort of idea that gets utilized as the fall guy for the superpower that is the mainstream media, the university systems, the political scene, the political dialogue, the scientism community, and the New Age community. How the New Age movement or community utilizes the conspiracy theory mentality is to place itself as the victim instead of understanding how these tentacles are worked in and out of every other perspective that people are coming from. Not saying that everybody's right, but more of a focus on, just as abstract as the New Age is, those people who are attacking you personally, Teal, Swan, and Ralph Smart, I'm sure you guys get you get flack too. These attacks are not all wrong at the same time. They're not. There's truth in everything that you are encountered with. And either you interpret that truth in an understanding, understanding, and overstanding of the situation, or you fight it. And you fight it with either the weapons that you have created, such as love and light and compassion within like the New Age mentality, or the victimization program, which usually runs hand in hand with the love and light program. In order to run the love and light program in such a fucked up world in so many ways, you have to be not looking at particular perspectives and other storylines and focusing your energy and your intention on a certain thing. That focus is what I want to focus on right now, is because that focus is very tuned in to a specific version of reality that is not necessarily connected to what the New Age community is calling itself oneness, is referencing as oneness and spirit and the Godhead and whatever, love and light, all that. It's very lacking in its broader perspectives. And since these two individuals, for example, have such a big following, I wanted to use them as an example of how this program works. Specifically, Teal Swan. She's gotten a lot of flack for the way she is. I watched a video right just before this one, which is the video I was going to do a video on in reference to, which was entitled something to the something about New Age Illuminati conspiracy, the New Age movement as an Illuminati conspiracy. And of course she goes into the, if you're interested, just watch the video, but you'll see what I'm talking about when I play this video right now. Basically, one of the newer types of perspectives that I have now that's different from my previous New Age rants, rants about the New Age, are the New Age in itself was invented in order to create a fall guy, a fall movement, as the projectile for the original plan, which is this one world government, one world religion, unifying of all the religions under this love and light program. What happens is the New Age is it's designed to do exactly what it does. It either holds on to you for a particular moment in the so-called future, or it shoots you out into wherever, into the ethers, into space. And what happens is, in that floaty world of being within that New Age box, you're stagnant and subject to the disclosure movement, the alien agenda, the extraterrestrial agenda, or the love and light neutral zone of reality. Or if you jump away from that space, a large percentage of the people who jump away from that program will project themselves directly back into the religious foundations in some kind of way with the New Age leftovers. So you'll see a lot of people jump straight back into the Bible or the Jesus program and find that, and really narrow. It's really about the focus. This is what I wanted to focus on, the focus of focus, and how that focus creates your reality. The focus of love and light puts blinders on and sunglasses, in a sense, to where you're not able to look directly into the sun. You're not able to look left and right and see what storylines have existed prior to what is known today as the new. See, in the video that Teal Swan references, in reference to the New Age movement, the New Age, oh, it's been new, it's been around, these are the people that escaped from religious persecution and all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. Yes, you can come from that perspective, but that's exactly how this program is designed. It's to consume everything and water everything down, spit it out, regurgitate it out, to set the artificial foundation for this one world religion, this one world government. This is exactly what it's designed to do. And the people who don't find any essence in that space, who leave, will jump into what the status quo is still, which is the religious percentages, where people are still locked into that program. So a lot of people go back into the Jesus programming and stay there because that's comfortable. What happens is, even in the religious program, just as I said in the previous videos, your foundation doesn't start at the heart chakra. In this physical reality, there are other roots that you have that are equal to all other energy centers. The New Age idea and the Love and Light program is based upon locking your root system into the heart chakra which is not a full activation of the heart chakra, because you do not have the root structure from your sacral root and your solar plexus. This is an activation of many lifetimes, many energy centers that you exist in and as. That is the true oneness, coming from the roots to the crown, as opposed to the new age idea of going from the crown to the heart chakra and stopping there. See, when I first went into the movement, I can only speak in reference to this because I had to go through that program for myself, and how I started my journey back to myself and understanding myself. One of the first questions was, do you believe in God or the Most High or whatever the spirit is? And my obvious answer was, because everything in my life was about going to school and just working out. That's all I was focused on. Going to school, working out, having a girlfriend, and just being, that was like the American dream for me at that time frame. And I said, this is all emptiness. There's something missing here. And what was missing was the spirit. What was missing is my true connection. There was that little sign, but there was no connection there. Yeah, there's no connection. No true connection to my reality, because I was anchored in the physical reality as if that was the end all be all. So when I jumped into questioning my reality, I was sitting in the shower, sitting there, and I asked, what really am I looking for? What am I going to do? This was after the Occupy sort of time frame. And because I was still going back and forth, learning more about what this world was subject to. And the next step was find out what spirit is. So that projected me into sacred geometry, the Atlantean stories, and all the channelers and all that stuff, chakras and all that, those storylines that exist that are ancient at best when you go into the chakra centers. But since you had the internet available, there were so many new versions of those old stories, which is the New Age movement, the New Age information stream. So it was perfect for me because these were brand new YouTube videos that I could relate to, because these were posted by individuals who were in my similar age group, and they were new. So anything new, you want the new shoes, you want the new jacket, you want new this, everybody wants something new. So that is a stream of thought that if you stay within that stream of thought, it is a new mainstream consciousness. That is what the New Age movement and identity is. It co-opts the old without truly understanding the roots to the fruits, the roots to the crown understanding of reality. But since it's based in a positive energy, the love and light, and it's of a somewhat understanding of these alchemical teachings and these religious programmings that are interwoven within this entire system, it discards the old and creates this new environment. And this is what is happening now. By design, people are going to stay in that program or jump straight out. And of course, if everything is based upon sweetness and love and light and everything, then you can't be the inherent defense mechanism within that is the victim. How dare you? We are just sweet and loving. The extraterrestrials are just a beautiful. The hybrid children are just filled with unconditional love and light. And Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Walk down the street in East Oakland. Walk down the street in Syria. Walk down the street anywhere else and see for a number of days, a number of weeks, a number of months, and see how that identity will change. Start looking into the so-called black conscious communities and see what perspectives they are coming from. Ralph Smart. See how this agenda is interwoven within this collective New World agenda, and also look into how these are controlling individuals and entire groups of people, and see how, look into the future with your super psychic powers. Not saying you have super psychic, just anyway. You can look into the future and see how this is, what is going on. What are you waiting for? What are the people waiting for? What are movements waiting for? What are they rooted in? The very essence of the idea of a new age is already dead, because truth isn't new. Not to mention that there is nothing new under the sun. And another heavily engaged program that is within the idea of the New Age community and movement is this idea of disclosure. Disclosure is not needed if you understand the depths of truth. So the very essence of the idea of disclosure is not rooted. It's not rooted in truth. It's rooted in power. It's rooted in who are the entities, are the energy centers that provide you with that disclosure. And what means to manifest itself after that disclosure, so-called disclosure, is made. This is the difference between truth and disclosure. So, as I explained the difference between disclosure and truth, there is the same contrast between the old and the new with negative and positive, so-called negative and so-called positive. The reason why, one of the main reasons why the New Age agenda, New Age movement community is so vibrant is because people have been victimized, enslaved, massacred, genocided at a low vibration for so long, so many generations. Anything positive, anything connected to spirit, anything speaking in reference to truth, anything speaking in reference to so-called secret information, anything in reference to the actual elements, the elementals, angels, everything that is interwoven within the New Age environment will be embraced by people. Now that you see that that exists, you have to realize that that will be manipulated. If that is activated as in a community today, when people have so much healing to do, people are already running with the idea of love and light as if we've already done the healing that needs to be done as a collective, as the earth, as an entire plane of existence. We've already started. This is what the New Age environment is. It's running already when the healing hasn't been completely done yet. The understandings of the depths of these stories haven't been done yet. So you're basically just turning people on to an idea before they have truly healed themselves to interpret what it is that they are to do with those vibrations. When you do that, you get them locked into a blinder sunglasses version of reality, where when they are approached with things that go against their current idea of reality, their so-called New Age teachings, they will literally create new forms of thought that are heavily anchored in a synthetic understanding of reality. Pretty much emptiness, empty boxes. But since they haven't had any anchors forever, even the box feels comfortable. So, I want to play this video real quick after I've set that foundation of understanding, and that as a message to both Ralph Smart and Teal Swan, because I didn't want to just do a debunking Ralph Smart and Teal Swan. No, that shit. No. I mean, there's so much shit that I could really go into talking about in that same kind of atmosphere, but I didn't want to go there because there's already so much information out there already doing that. Teal Swan's been hit with all kinds of shit. She's going to reference that too. I haven't really seen Ralph Smart with anything but get hit with videos and all this other stuff. Ralph Smart comes from more of a grounded energy, I would say. It's not as rooted in the New Age environment, but it is dressed in New Age clothing. And since these two are affiliated with each other and they have the same community, same kind of following, I felt it necessary to reference both of them with this perspective. So I'll play this video and then I'll interject here and there to share where I'm coming from.
Peace, Infinite Waters diving deep once again. We are here with... Can I get a hello there? It's about to get really crazy right now. We've been talking about perfection. Teal, it's amazing to see you.
You too.
Right? Infinite Waters, like everyone loves Teal. And like our audiences are so similar. Mm-hmm. Like how do you deal with what you're doing and people saying Teal is perfect?
I don't actually run into people saying Teal is perfect. I run into the opposite.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, that's my point of focus, but the reality is the people who think you're awesome are oftentimes a lot quieter than the ones who think you're not awesome. So what I'm continually confronted by is Teal's fraud. Teal shouldn't be talking. Why do you think you're an authority on this subject? She used to be a model. That's screwed up. She's doing this just for money, all that kind of stuff. So.
Right. So what advice would you give to anyone who's going through a similar thing?
My advice would be to create purity in your life. But the way to create purity in your life is to focus on what it is that you enjoy in the present moment and what inspires you in the present moment to such a degree that the rest of it sort of falls off. It's sort of like boiling them. I mean, I'm a vegan, hardcore vegan, but here's a meat reference. It's a little bit like boiling all of the fat off of the meat. When you're focusing on that thing that you just love and that lights you up and the reason you're doing this in the first place, it sort of like streamlines your focus, so everything that's to the periphery of that, including the hatred, sort of falls by the wayside. And it's sort of like, why could somebody like Martin Luther King stand up on stage even though he had so much hatred? It's because he had so much purity of focus on what it was that he wanted to create. So that would be my advice. But like if you lose track of it, you just gotta find it again.
Right.
If you lose track of that inspiration, find.
See, this is exactly what I was just referencing beforehand. This focus is within a box. Not saying that you don't do it, but I'm saying this is part of this journey. That focus that you are referencing, Teal Swan, or that is referenced in here, is rooted in a relationship to your surroundings that is not completely understanding the depths of energy. That hatred that you are getting, that's an energy. It's a focus. It's a challenge to do something. What that something is up to you. And you tell people, in order to deal with that, all you got to do is focus on what is beautiful, what is love, what is light, what is that driving force that continues, that drives you to carry on. That creates gaps in people's reality where shit festers. Because that energy exists. And it won't not exist. It's not going to just go away by looking the other way. This is the actual mentality of the New Age so-called community in reference to the idea of the rest of the world. Those people, the ones who are still struggling in the false paradigm of politics and the American dream and the materialistic versions of reality. Once they get out of that density program, then they can join us in the New Age community and become one with all that is, and become one with spirit, and become one with humanity, and we can move forward with our extraterrestrial brethren. And you see where I'm coming from. It's an entire focus that doesn't really understand that the same way, like for me, like when I walk into a New Age community, I can't walk into a New Age dance club or something and request the Fugees or request, Tupac or something like that. Because people will say that's such a low vibration energy. And of course there are going to be people that join in and they're going to do that. But what I'm speaking in reference to is the idea of people aren't accepted completely to the depths of who they are, because the majority of people who are living in that reality have created a focus that can't be, it's a box. And if you take people out of those boxes, and this is the thing, like from me just being who I am, if I go into a New Age, if I disagree with people, I'm automatically seen as somebody who has a problem. Because that is the design of the New Age ideas. Like, oh, well, if you don't agree with love and light, then something's wrong with you. That's a density. That's you're carrying some kind of negative energies. These are these defense mechanisms that get activated in this community that both Ralph Smart and Teal Swan project through their YouTube videos, talking about how perfect everything is. Yes. In one perspective, yes. But that's more like the perspective of the subconscious perfection of the infinite space of your dreams. It's meant for your subconscious background music within the conscious field of your reality, which is this linear in time perspective that we walk through every day, every moment in time, that present moment that the New Age that she's going to reference in here in a second, that gets caught up in, completely, it bounces from the present moment, which is that perfect understanding of your relationship to spirit, and the infinite space, for example, of like the subconscious dream reality. Both of those are perfect in a sense that you don't have any linear control. It's not part of like your conscious thought, like your ego isn't doing anything about it. It just exists and it's beautiful and perfect, yes. But if you bring in that subconscious infinity the dream space, which is floaty and all over the place and meant for that vibration, and the present moment that you get into in like a meditative space, if you bring that in without understanding the relationship that the conscious walking through time, those present moments on top of themselves that create the flicker rate moment of your reality, that's in relationship to the other experiencers, your brothers and sisters around the earth plane. If you don't make that connection, it's 2 out of 3. That's basically what I'm getting to. The 2 out of 3 is better than 0 out of 3 or 1 out of 3. See, this is a good example of how this video will play out. Now, I didn't really think about this now until it just came into it. But understanding the 3 of existence, 1 as the present moment, which Teal Swan is coming from this perspective of this is her escape. The perfection of that focus, that driving force, that essence of why I do what I do. And then Ralph Smart comes from the perspective of the infinite waters diving deep. Yes, all that infinite space does exist. And you have a conscious reality that is a combination of those present moments, living through time, through your existence, over and over again. That is the storyline of the so-called old age, which has a meaning and a purpose, has an essence, has an alchemy, has a beauty and a perfection that was well understood by the ancient peoples, by the ancient alchemists. This is what the New Age community does not recognize, and is what the so-called New Age conspiracy theorists, the people who are calling the New Age a conspiracy, this is the essence of creating that foundation, that false foundation for what is to be this new system of control, this new idea of like the Christian, the Crusades, the Christianity mentality. It's the same thing. So just because the individuals or certain people are not part of what is known as the Illuminati and all that other shit in reference to the New Age focus and movement, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But in order to protect their investment, which she herself will go into saying, if you want to be in this business, see, these words flip out. Now I'll play it in a second. Truth is not a business. Disclosure is a business, but truth is not a business. I'll let this play out. So yeah, the 3 is what I really wanted to focus on, and didn't really know until it just came out like that. But the 3 is, like I said, your subconscious reality is the everlasting infinite space of how your dreams are all over the place. That's that chaotic, infinite sort of version of reality that we experience in moments when we remember our dreams. We can bring back little parts of that interpretation into this reality. The moment is the meditative space that you can tap into when you're in your conscious reality, when you're not asleep, when you are still anchored in your body, but you have chosen to sit within that space of the allness, the everlasting tone. These are these escape mechanisms that people utilize in the so-called New Age community. And when you appear to be attacking them, the victimization turns, "Oh, how dare you? I am just promoting oneness and beauty and perfection and the infinite spaces of our reality." It's like, yes, you're doing a very beautiful thing with your intentions, but there's more to it, because there's that other third of reality, which is the collective storyline of the past, the present, and the creation of this idea of the future. That is the collection of those conscious moments multiplied by 7 billion movie projectors, movie projectors. Not everybody has been able to tune into those meditative moments to understand the moment, and many people have been separated from their dreams to even understand the infinite space of your subconscious dream reality, let alone the infinite space of the Most High Spirit essence. With these gaps that are created in this reality, manipulative entities are utilizing that space for the benefit of self. You can already understand who those individuals are. And if you are not understanding, which is why this energy called hatred and all this flack of, you're referencing Teal Swan in here, because regardless of your intentions, as positive as they may be, you are still missing a third of the reality. Both you and Ralph Smart are missing a third of the reality. But since we've had nothing for so long, 2/3 is better than nothing. So, you know where I'm coming from.
I went into one of these cycles a while ago where just the amount of hatred I was getting and slander that was being said. And
so this is in the names. In their names. He's Infinite Waters, which is the like I explained, the subconscious reality, which is the dream space of the infinite experience. How beautiful that is to understand, that space that you tap into when you meditate. But that's different from being in the conscious space of where like Teal Swan is coming from, when they project themselves out there. And since she comes from that and utilizes that escape mechanism of the conscious reality into that, I just go into my focus and just focus on my reality. They are both reflecting off of each other so they can see what they are missing. And the people who are outside of their reality are trying to help them see what they are missing. But since they both create and understand at least a portion of 2/3 of reality, it's difficult to see that 1/3 of reality that will eventually manifest. But since it's so beautiful, it's so perfect, it's so focused, then it's hard to see that. And when you have people who follow you, or people who have been for themselves doing this for so long, then it becomes even more difficult to understand that which we are missing.
Against me was so intense that I started losing that purpose. It's sort of like I could feel that the constriction.
Like,
I could feel myself just being
they were
like,
attacking
God,
me.
it's
She's
too hard
like,
for myself.
they were attacking me. And then I strove to come back to myself in that focus moment, and I made it. I did it. See, you guys can do it too. And then he's just going to back her up, say, yeah, you did a good thing. Good job. Congratulations. You are a strong, divine being.
The world, just get attacked for it. But then, like, what I did is I took a walk through a city, and I started to see the people that were suffering. And what I realized was, this is why I got into this business in the first place. Is because I actually do have...
This is a business. And you can say, however, like, oh yeah, she just used that as an example of words to explain, like, her work. But what I am saying is, truth is not a business. The true spirit, this shit is not a business. This ain't no business. When any kind of business is involved in there, you will have some gaps. Disclosure is a business. Disclosure is part of the New Age community. So when you throw these words out there like that, whether it's a Freudian slip or not, however you want to defend it, there's a meaning there. You can't just throw the reasons why, I'm being attacked just cause. No. This is not a fucking business.
The one thing that would work for that person. And I got back in touch also with my 15-year-old self, which was like, what would I tell my 15-year-old self who's sitting by herself at 3 a.m. in this house with absolutely nobody around to comfort her? What would I say to that person? And that wasn't enough to basically get me back on track with my own inspiration.
Right. Well, what you're doing is amazing, but do you ever say sometimes it's not fair?
Yes.
Like, hey, I want to be like, just be allowed just to do whatever I want and not be seen as someone who has to be a certain way.
Yeah, and what's super unfair is, because I'm just going to have an honesty moment.
Right. Honest moment.
What's super unfair is that people basically, they hear bits and pieces of my life, and because they can't put it together in a continuous story, they make assumptions about me.
Right.
And then because I'm in a public persona type of a position, I can't then explain it to them. So I've got people who I could explain these issues away to, but I can't actually directly address them, and I can't address them in the amount of numbers that they exist without also detracting from my own work. So it's almost like there's a lot of situations where I feel like I can't defend myself, even though I want to defend myself, and then even defense comes from a negative space, and so it sort of feels like you're in this kind of trap or a bind. So I have a hell of a lot of days where I'm like, it's not fair, and I bury myself on the covers. Yeah.
Right. Well, can we be as negative as we want sometimes in the views? Okay, that's a pass, guys. You don't have to just be positive, like just be authentic, right? Because that's the quote you did.
But I do think it's important to think about it.
Authenticity is not something that you do. It's something that you are. See, fuck. I'm not even going to go into that shit. It's the individual. The authenticity in the New Age synthetic version of reality is something that you do. Authenticity in the essence of the soul of who you are from the roots up to the crown is just you are that. That's it. See, they gotta practice at this shit. With, like he said, can you just be negative sometimes? Like, why are you questioning? You can't compartmentalize these moments like this. These are dancers who are very in control of compartmentalizing the moments into a feathery box of focus. So this is what that means of the whole, can we just have, negative, like that, that's not even, like in a truly authentic reality, those words don't even need to be said. You will just experience the reality for what it is, whether you are subject to a negative reflection or a positive reflection or a balance of all of them, without having to question it and compartmentalize it and space it out in that moment. But this is how this New Age mentality works. They have to compartmentalize the moment. So when you are living in the infinite waters space of that infinite space, you have, in order to interpret the conscious reality, which is the string, the movie reel of that's being fed through the projector reel of a Teal, Swan and a Ralph Smart. In order for them to do that, she does the focus of the positive, focus on the moment perspective. He does the, he does the same thing but from a different style. And then they are trying to interpret this movie reel. This is why they're both having this so-called difficulty with this understanding of the reality, because there's an entire third missing. At least there could be more from my perspective. This is just from my perspective, from how I'm seeing what is missing in these projectors who are trying to interpret this movie reel that is the collection of moments, that is the true oneness story that is not at all new. It's old in a sense that it exists outside of time, in the same sense that nothing is new under the sun. Period. So to compartmentalize, to deal with a reality that is completely imbalanced, which is the movie reel. You don't have to wear the movie reel as like a jacket. You don't have to be weighed down by it. But if you put that jacket in the closet and act like it doesn't exist, it's not going to go away. And this is what these 2/3 mentality realities do with their focus. They either focus on the infinite waters space of the subconscious everlasting perfection, or they focus on the individual moment when they are approached with negativity or whatever is hard to deal with the movie reel. And each individual is a projector. Each different individual is a projector. And these followers of theirs are projectors who have been subject to the movie reel, the horror story of this genocidal, out of balance, bloody reality. And since these individuals have more a lighter version of projecting their reality, other people are downloading that as their reality, their projections. Meanwhile, the story continues to go along. Not looking at Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is not going to make them not exist. Not looking at the destructive programs that exist in and around the human consciousness, the so-called oneness that is referenced by these individuals, is not going to make this stuff go away. And it's up to the individual to interpret the depths of their reality by understanding their true roots and how these stories fit together. Both the infinite waters space of the subconscious perfection and the infinite space of the everlasting present moment, and how these storylines of the projection reel through time work together.
Of what you say on people.
Right.
Like, and there will be some times where the impact it's going to have might not be pleasant, but it's basically important. It's almost like, is not saying this going to cause more harm to me or the other person in the long run? But yeah, I feel like it's about internal, like considering your internal world and considering the external world. You can't be trapped by it, but it's a nice consideration. Like, is what I'm doing going to have an impact?
Yeah.
It's very easy, by the way, to think that like people who are in the spiritual field are not really people, or like public people are not really people, and so nothing that you say is going to have an impact.
You hear that music?
But it does. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And just lastly, what would you say to anyone who wants to do what you're doing or what I'm doing and inspiring people? Should they go ahead with it?
Yeah.
Do you have any disclaimer?
My disclaimer is be ready for a hell of a lot of resistance.
Oh, goodness, that's amazing. Can I get a hello there? Thank you so much, love. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Take care. We're out here, Infinite Waters. We're in here, actually, in LA. Enjoy yourself. Infinite Waters, diving deep once again. Stay well. Stay healthy. Peace. There we go.
So this mentality, like that, mentioned that music, if you were to take this conversation or these perspectives into like the heart of some of the deepest, densest people's environments and try to explain this reality, it will not be received. Not saying that it's supposed to be received. And in fact, these individuals will also say, well, it's not for them. It's not ready for them. People will find this information when they're ready. Yes, at the same time, that is the definition of a gap between you and another group of people who are no different from you. So you can either wait on those individuals to close that gap, or you can understand, and overstand what that gap is and interpret that into the reality that you project when you are doing this, helping people and inspiring people and all that other stuff. It's not all about those people who are dense and in that, hard situation or whatever it is. You are also responsible for closing that gap. And just because that storyline, that movie reel is not part of your reality, part of your experience, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So that's basically what I wanted to share in this message to both Ralph Smart and Teal Swan and whoever follows them in that whole thing, to expand your reality into understanding more. And you can go into like even the flat earth stuff and transhumanism and the Mandela effect and all that, and like these are storylines that exist. What are the responses, or how is the new age so-called community or movement, since these individuals affiliate with that space, how are you interpreting such information? How are you interpreting it in the collective consciousness, in this whole connecting with nature and extraterrestrial experience? Like how are you interpreting that? The fact that NASA has been lying for decades. The fact that space is not what you have been trained to believe, and in fact have been manipulated to believe by a lot of these so-called channelers and extraterrestrial connections and all this other stuff. How does all this stuff fit into your reality? So, yeah, like what does the transhumanism movement fit in the New Age community? Are you accepting that reality? What about the people who are going to fall into that trap? What is your stance on that sort of idea? Also understanding that the transhumanism movement is based upon the misunderstanding of the monkey mind evolution program that is projected through the university system, which is the foundation to the NASA globe model programming, CERN and all that other shit. How does all this stuff fit? See, this is the stream of the movie reel that interconnects all of the individuals that are in your so-called oneness, in this so-called New Age community, that the blinders keep you from looking at. And it's dense. It is heavy. It does take work to understand. And if you wear it, it's not meant to be worn. This is why you bounce back and forth between everything as the moment flows on its own. You jump into the ocean. You sit in the present moment and you dance in the movie reel depending on what your flow is calling for. if you choose any one of those realities, you will be consumed by the movie reel if you choose that as your reality. Like when I was in the Occupy movement, talking about the bankers are full of shit and all that, that was me being consumed by the movie reel. When I was in the New Age, I was both consumed by the ocean of the beauty of spirit, that infinite space, and I was also consumed by the present moment. But I never lost track of who and what I am, who and what I was, and my family and my root structure. I was always connected and still am connected with the essence of who I am, and understanding these movements for what they are, taking what this information is and going with the flow of reality, and learning, stubbing my toe here and there, left and right, doing all kinds of shit, the ups and downs of your reality, but constantly expanding. So the movie reel is not just this negative program that is manipulated by the so-called cabal and the so-called Illuminati and all these puppet masters and all that other shit. At its essence, it has a meaning and a purpose that is anchored in your root structure, your sacral structure, your solar plexus fire, which is the root to your heart chakra, and then blasting off into the higher chakras. So that third, another way to explain it is like how I split up the Beast program documentary. The present moment can be understood as the heart chakra. The infinite waters space of your subconscious infinity, your dream realities, or your potential in that connection with the higher spirit could be understood as the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and your crown chakra. And the movie reel that's forever existing in that flicker rate moment of reality could be understood as your root chakra, sacral chakra, and solar plexus chakra within this physical reality, your lower bodies. This is what the New Age community runs away from, because it relates to your family and all kinds of other stuff that people don't really want to go into. And the all family. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for joining me. And till next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.